Hey guys, Dr. Greg here. Thank you for coming back for another episode of the Dr. Greg Show. In today's episode, we're going to talk about that lovely, dreaded, what the heck's happening week before your period. And so many women over 20 years of doing this have explained to me, I feel like a different person. I actually had a patient who came in with her husband here a couple weeks ago. Her husband actually lovingly, respectfully asked her if she was like bipolar. And this is not a joke against that. What he was really saying was, hey babe, you're like a legit, like different person, not in an awesome way, like a week out of the month. And I don't understand it. I'm not trying to tag you with a diagnosis. What I'm saying though is, it's not you. Like, what's going on inside of that? That's our episode today. Again, if you have questions for us, if you'd like for me to answer any questions for upcoming episodes, throw questions down in the Q&A. We have all kinds of resources in the Q&A. If you want to see some of our free resources, if you want to see what it's like to work with us, we've got a book coming out. So if you're listening to this before March of 2026, you can pre-order the book. There's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars of freebies that we're giving away if you pre-order, or if it's after that, there is a book called Power Over Perimenopause, which is the exact playbook that we use in our practice to help women navigate the roller coaster of perimenopause. So let's jump in. If you're listening to this, have you ever had a week where you wake up and think, why am I like this? You feel anxious, overstimulated, a little bit panicky, and then your period shows up and it all makes sense. I had a patient tell me, Dr. Greg, if I could fix the 7 to 10 days before my cycle, I'd be unstoppable. What she didn't know that her anxiety was not a personality flaw. It was biochemistry. And there were lots of things going on inside of that. So like I said, lots and lots of clinical cases inside of my practice where women just feel like a different version of themselves. They feel anxious, they feel overwhelmed, they're hypersensitive. Some women will literally plan work trips around this, social gatherings around this. What I want to say is you're not crazy, you're not being dramatic, you're not broken. Your body is definitely trying to give you some information. And in today's episode, I want to make some sense hormonally of what could be going on. But big picture wise, because we're not just a hormone clinic here. I'm not just here to say, oh, you need to take a bunch of hormones and you're going to be a lot better. Can hormones help? Yeah. But are they literally what we have found in this clinic to be like the root cause of what's going on? Absolutely not. And I'm going to touch base on that a little bit today. What's actually causing this spike? So number one, progesterone drops. Your calm drops, right? Progesterone is your brake pedal, ladies. When it drops before your period, your brain loses its ability of progesterone to work with something called GABA. It's a calming chemical. It literally creates this like short-term vulnerability to anxiousness. Now, estrogen can fluctuate during this time as well, especially depending upon where you are in the journey of perimenopause. The closer you get to menopause, the less estrogen. But what happens is estrogen can sometimes be on its own roller coaster as progesterone and testosterone drop off. So estrogen affects serotonin, dopamine, and how much stimulation your brain can tolerate. And then cortisol. Cortisol steps in and your brain, it's like it's on high alert. Cortisol is like, the term I would say is like hypervigilant. Like your head's always on a swivel. Like, what's going on? What's happening? Am I okay? Are we okay? Are the kids okay? So what happens many times is when progesterone drops, cortisol's like, oh gosh, this is not good. I'm stressed. So then cortisol will spike inside of that. And anxiety, intrusive thoughts, overwhelm can also be a cortisol story. Now, the thing I also want to talk about is what you'll hear is the theme inside of this practice, right? So the theme, and we talk about this a ton in the book. So there's 3 foundational things when it comes to your health. The first one is the tone of your nervous system. I need you to feel like you're a bird that has a beautiful, warm, soft, secure nest, and you have a place to land, and it's good. Okay, as opposed to I'm a bird and I don't have a nest, so I have to be flying around all the time and I have to go. That is not a place where your body can heal inside of. The second component is cellular energy. How full is your gas tank? And actually, a lot of that, the thyroid has a lot to do with that. And that's why one of the number one symptoms of a underactive thyroid is fatigue, because the conversion, and by the way, your cholesterol goes through your thyroid through these CYP pathways inside of the mitochondria to get into pregnenolone and the rest of your sex hormones. So the thyroid has a lot to do with this. And by the way, the thyroid can be crazy impacted by infection and stress. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit as well. And then you have to have drainage pathways that are open. God designed pathways for things to get out of your body. So you've got your gut, liver, kidneys, lymphatic system, glymphatic system, menstrual cycle, sweat glands, and respiratory system. And then to wrap all of this together, what I really want you to understand, and I've done, this is really the crux of this practice, is I tell people the body doesn't need help, it just needs nothing in the way. Well, what are examples of that? So here's the analogy. Let's say your name is Susan. So right now, Susan, there is a New York Broadway show going on right now called Susan, and you're the star of the show, Susan. So the first question that I have as a doctor is, hey, Susan, who's on the stage that shouldn't be there? Like in the real estate world, they call these squatters. Who is living in your body, your house, rent-free, eating your groceries, taking up your electricity and all your energy? So that's things, and we see this on labs. And actually, I just wrote, I'm doing a summit for a functional medicine group, and I dove deep into the conversation around how, like things like Epstein-Barr virus, Lyme disease, fungal overgrowth, how mold toxicity. So those could be the things that are on the stage that shouldn't be there. And here's the thing, again, I speak in a lot of analogies. When you think about balancing your hormones, and there's a lot of hormone clinics, and some of them get great results, and for some of them, they're like, oh, this just didn't work. Think of it like this. Your body is a beautiful flower bed. Hormone therapy is a beautiful rose bush. If you're going to plant a rose bush into a flower bed, we have to make sure that the health of the soil, the terrain of the flower bed is receptive to that rose bush. We have to make sure that there's no weeds in the flower bed. And that's this work of understanding nervous system tones, cellular energy, drainage, toxicity, infection. Those have crazy results inside of your body's ability to manage your hormones. We talked about cortisol. If you have an underlying viral load or parasitic load or Lyme, by the way, Lyme is way more common than you ever want to think, ladies. Only 10% of Lyme is a deer tick bite and a bullseye rash. Lyme has the potential, and I've treated it for over 20 years now, has the potential to be carried by any biting insect. What? Streptococcal A, there's a thing called PANDAS, pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorder associated with strep, another very interesting neural autoimmune disease. What those infections do is tell your body, I'm under a threat. Underlying infection is no different than a stressful marriage, financial stress, crazy family. It's no different. To your body, stress is stress, ladies. And when we run labs, I just want to be really frank with you. 90+% of labs that I run. Now, understand, I don't run labs on a lot of like people that are like healthy. People come to me because they have issues going on. But the way that I look at labs, I would say 90+% of times I'm finding underlying hidden stealth infections. Okay, so I want to put that there because what I don't want these podcasts to make you feel is, I just need to take a bunch of hormones. If I just take a bunch of hormones, my body will be better. Now, hormones can help, but they're rarely the root cause. So here's some research here. Going back to progesterone. Research shows that decreased progesterone levels in the late luteal phase, right before your cycle, increase sensitivity in the amygdala. That is the fear and emotional processing part of your brain, ladies. What's the translation of that? When progesterone dips, your brain loses one of its biggest chill out signals. Okay. What I want is, we just spoke to this. It's not just your hormones, it's drainage, and even inflammation can play a role in this. So the more inflamed the brain is, the more intense the emotional symptoms of perimenopause are. Now, here's what I want to say. I actually cut my teeth in the world of functional medicine, working with kids on the autistic spectrum. Huge place in my heart for those babies. Here's what I know. If the gut's inflamed, the brain's inflamed. If you have things like high sensitivity C-reactive protein, homocysteine, erythrocyte sedimentation rate, elevations of inflammation, I almost always see when I run like specific gut tests, like a gut zoomer, I almost always see correlative gut inflammatory markers. Oh, and by the way, 70% of your immune system sits in your gut. So here we go. The more inflamed the brain is, the more intense the emotional symptoms. The liver, gut, and lymph determine how smoothly hormone shifts happen. When detox pathways are congested, hormone fluctuations can feel like emotional chaos. Number 2, blood sugar. If blood sugar swings, anxiety worsens. Have you ever been hangry before? Hypoglycemic? Yeah, it literally can derail your body. Many women in perimenopause have undiagnosed insulin resistance or stress-induced blood sugar patterns. Insulin resistance. First morning fasted free insulin should be between 2 and 5. That's low. And it's rare that I see a woman that doesn't have low level or crazy insulin resistance. It's a hormone and your cell is resistant to it. Okay? So let's just, as we walk through it, and there's a lot to this, let's talk about some practical, calm the body out tools. The progesterone support window, ladies, 7 to 10 days before your menstruation. This is where we need to make sure that we're supporting sleep. We're stabilizing our meals. We're probably not crushing huge workouts. It's a time of your cycle where your body wants to be nurtured and slowed down and loved on a little bit. The blood sugar rule, protein before coffee. Protein every 3 to 4 hours. Good quality protein. Proteins turn into amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of all of these things that we're talking about in our body. Nervous system ritual, 3 minutes of slow breath work every day. I'm a big fan of Wim Hof breath work. I'm a fan of extended exhalation breath work. I'm a fan of box breathing. I'm a fan of just slowing down. Reduce the stimulus load. Number 4, social media breaks. Are you up doom scrolling at night or throughout the day? Quiet commutes. Turn the radio off. Allow silence, peace. Okay? And then what's your sensory experience? Are you watching TV every single night? Are you have all these flashing lights? Are you screening a bunch? Like, what would it look like to grab a book and actually read a book? Or what would it like to turn the TV off and just have a conversation with someone that you love? In functional medicine, we look at the why, okay? Not just is your progesterone low, but what's going on with it? What are the other things that could be predisposing that? Is your system inflamed? I talked about those 3 inflammatory markers. Where's your cortisol at? In some cases, we can do salivary or serum cortisol, and in some cases, we do diurnal urinary or salivary testing to get a bigger picture. And then how are those detox pathways? Where's that at? And then, like I talked about before, who's on the stage that shouldn't be there? What is your infectious or toxic load? Okay. So here's a little case study from the clinic here. Okay. So a woman came in and she told me that she just feels like a different person the week before her cycle. Panicky, overwhelmed, unable to sleep. Her labs did show low progesterone, high cortisol, increased inflammatory markers, and underlying hidden stealth infection. So here's what we did. Taught her to optimize her nervous system tone, went after the drainage pathways, addressed underlying infection in her body. And by the way, this doesn't happen overnight. Because here's what she thought. She thought, this is just how I am. This is just PMS. I'm just too emotional. But she intuitively, ladies, you have intuition. I joke, I tell guys it's just indigestion. Guess guys can have intuition. Women, lean into your intuition. What's your body telling you? If your body's saying, this isn't it, there's more to this, I got to go deeper, trust that. And what that lady said is, I've never felt more empowered in my life. My husband and my kids get to experience a different version of me. That's pretty awesome. Because here's what I know. If mom's good, the house is good. If mom's good, the babies are good. If mom's good, the marriage has a better chance to thrive. Mama, you are the matriarch of your house. You are the foundation of making that house a home. Yes, it's a partnership. Yes, I do this with my wife. However, my wife sets the tone for so many things in our home. And when mama's good, we're all good. And I say that lovingly and also very respectfully inside of that. So think of the last time you felt anxiousness before your cycle. Maybe it's right now. Maybe it was last month. What if it wasn't random? What if your body's giving you a signal, right? So here's some key takeaways from today. Anxiety before your period isn't always in your head. It's biochemistry. Who is on your stage that shouldn't be there? Do you need to be looking at some deeper testing with better understanding? Progesterone drops remove the brain's calming mechanism. Cortisol spikes when life is running too fast for too long. Inflammation, liver congestion, gut dysregulation, gut inflammation, brain inflammation, all can throw this into a tailspin. Root cause testing helps uncover these things. Where are these things that you see in Western medicine? What they try to look for is the diagnosis. What is the silver bullet? And what I'm here to say is there's no such thing. The question I have is, what are the 100 golden BBs that could be impacting your case and what you have going on? And then how do we take them and put them in groups or in order like dominoes so we can start knocking them over and you get the benefits that you deserve? So there you have it. There's our episode today. Again, hopefully this can give you some insights, some understanding, some hope. I love when people can feel hopeful. Maybe there's a few little tips and tricks that you can come out of this. Maybe this helps your intuition be validated. And maybe it's just you're saying, hey, I'm not missing a bunch of drugs or a bunch of hormones. Like, I want to get back to the way, I call it God's and Grandma's way of life. Simpler, more soothing, more connected, not so rushed. So thank you for allowing me to serve you. It's an honor. I do this because God told me, Greg, you are a revealer of people's potential. And what I know is that if you're listening to this and you're like, oof, I don't like where I am, you're not at your potential. You're not broken. You're just not where you truly want and deserve to be for yourself and your family and your loved ones. So stay tuned for next episodes. And again, if you have questions, jump into the show notes. If you're curious about how to get our book, how to pre-order or order our book, how to work with us or what that looks like, or any resources we have, go into the show notes. Stay tuned for our next episode.